tell me what's wrong with this piece. Thank you. And then, so obviously I wasn't the president. This is my UWC call back in 2014. Obviously, I wasn't around in 1960. I'm not sure about Kevin, though. I'm not sure how old is he. But so basically, there are mistakes in this particular text. But let us see how. Okay, so when it does read the text, it tells you what grammar mistakes and the spelling mistakes. Obviously, I'm very bad with grammar, so I will be okay with anything that tells me about grammar. I will be okay. But obviously, it did catch me. I wasn't really a president, maybe in the future, but it didn't catch Kevin. So I said, what about Kevin then? And then they say, okay, Kevin also wasn't there. So you can actually try to get more information out of ChatGPT by asking more information about that text in sequential.
Also an AI.
Yeah, Grammarly is also based on AI. Yeah. So now about how can it help you when it comes to programming? I think I use it every day almost. Whenever I use it for coding, I always use ChatGPT. So for instance, this is a very simple averaging function. You can just give it the function itself and it, okay, correct for me this function. And it does give you the correct function. You just copy paste the code and you run it and it will work. Sometimes it doesn't work. What happens if it doesn't work? Obviously, the code will give you an error. Copy paste the error and give it back to ChatGPT. It will correct it for you. So just keep on until it's like a Stack Overflow, guys. If you use Stack Overflow, you just try everywhere until the code works. However, ChatGPT is really save you more time. But it has a problem though that the data that it has been trained on is actually limited. So the last date was in 2021 September. So if there's a new package, it might not know what this new package like how does it affect the code and stuff like that. So
what are the changes that it will replace programmers in this context?
Oh, that's a very big question. We can.
I know, yeah.
But I think it's unlikely.
Unlikely.
Yeah, from 3 years kind of experience.
So you can't do the problem say back with the county, this form or this form.
Yeah, well, there's so I tell it here. So for instance, here there's a model in machine learning called CNN, which is basically uses for images. It's being used for imaging. So I tell it, okay, create for me a CNN model with 3 layers. And I also needed to do binary classification. Binary classification means I want the machine learning model to, for instance, to classify between cats and dogs. You also can tell it, okay, I want to classify images that has a size of 250 by 250. You can also specify the image size, and it will take that into account while it's creating the code itself. And it does that for you. Sometimes it doesn't do it perfectly. However, if you don't know yourself, you wouldn't be able to assess the code. And that's the problem that I've been saying. If you don't know much, you wouldn't be able to use ChatGPT effectively. So now about how can it modify text?
So my question is, how much you download the code already? You ask it to help with the connectivity stuff. So my question is, so that it just speed up overall activity. Is data very perfect?
Yeah, it does. I mean, any programmer, they don't leave a day without using Google, right? Like we don't memorize code.
Yeah.
And we use Stack Overflow, we use the internet to fix the problem that we're facing. ChatGPT just made that easy for us, and it does save a lot of time. And it can, as you can see, it creates like a very big block of code for you, right? Okay, so what about modifying text? So I think this is an abstract from a paper about organic chemistry, and I tell it, okay, actually I have no idea what it's saying there. So I tell it, okay, simplify for me so a 5-year-old can understand it. Now it actually does, but because I don't understand the original text, I also don't understand this. So what I mean is I can't really say for sure that this modified text actually relates back to the original text. So that's also the problem I think that's why the both of us at the end are not really happy with with the answer. Now, here's the trick. I tell it, okay, simplify it so a 1-year-old can understand. So can a 1-year-old understand anything? I'm not a father myself, so I don't know. So it's maybe, so it actually did. It actually tried to simplify for me so a 1-year-old can understand. But then I tell it, what do they understand? But and then they correct it themselves, or they tell me you are right. But I think what's bothering me here is that they say they wouldn't fully grasp. I mean, is there any chance that they will grasp anything? I don't know. But it's kind of uncertainty in the answers that bothers me a lot. Now I said, okay, what about a cat? And then they actually say, I think they quote me this time, like they know cats wouldn't understand, but they say also again unlikely. I mean, what are the chances that a cat will understand anything? And I think this uncertainty, maybe this cat is quite special. I don't know. So okay, it also can for you. However, if you didn't read the paper, then you don't know what's the content, and then you wouldn't know if it gives you anything or not. So, for instance, here I give it like this song, which about baby shark, and then I tell it, okay, summarize it for me in one sentence, and it does. And then I tell it, okay, change it to a limerick, and it does that, and it does that for me. Now it can also translate. For some reason, they say it does not translate better than Google. I was just lazy. I told it to make up a Russian text and then change it to Chinese. I don't understand either. But they gave me the English text. They don't know also I'm struggling with English here. But but they were kind enough to do that for me. So yeah. It can generate ideas for you. I think this is very interesting because I will show you now. So for instance, I told it here is that if I have 10 abstracts from the 10 different papers, I want to summarize them into a table. And you kind of do that if you're a new master degree, you need to summarize your literature review. When I was back in a master student, to get like to a table like that, it does really take a lot of time from you to figure it out on yourself, unless like you have a supervisor and just guides you. But this also does kind of give you a very good idea how, like it does save you a lot of time instead of trying to figure out like in 3 months how you can come up with a table. It just tells you, okay, this is how you can do it. And it actually, I think this is a very good, it's not perfect, obviously, but that's like a very good general table that you can use to summarize papers. Now, another idea, I think this is also the second slide about how I used ChatGPT for idea generations. So for instance, first of all, the abstract that you read on the poster, that was also generated by ChatGPT. I don't write English like that ever. So that was written by ChatGPT, but then I took that and I gave it to ChatGPT and I told it, okay, create for me some slides. And it did do that. And sometimes they tell you what kind of images you should have in this particular slide. So it does give you a very general outline of how you can use it. Okay. So I did use it actually to take some inspiration from it. And obviously it turned out, I mean, I have 45 slides here and they gave me only 10. Oh, sorry. So, and then we have some visualization. I took this from the paper and you give it an image and then you tell it, okay, what's funny about this image? And then it does tell you, okay, the humor of the image is that you have a VGA connector to a smartphone. So just few tips on how to use ChatGPT better. Basically, give it all the information that you have so it can give you a better kind of, it can help you better. Otherwise, it will just come up with its own things. Also start by asking simple requests and try to iterate over and over so you can get really what you want at the end. So basically treat it as a child. So I don't know if I'm offending ChatGPT or not now. So about limitations, it has a double ignorance kind of problem, meaning it makes up things or it's lying, but it doesn't know that it's lying. And that's a huge problem. I mean, when we lie, we know we lie. So sometimes it shows on us, but ChatGPT says it with full confidence, right? So yeah, and also, like I said multiple times, you need to be an expert to be able to assess, or at least work with someone that be able to assess the work that you present. There's also a data bias. So for instance, if you tell it to give you an example in economy, it will give it to you in like in US dollars. It wouldn't give you in a rand, right? That's because the company is not South African. Yeah, and also it has like a data limited kind of problem. So now, this is about ethics. Ethics is very general. And usually when philosophers speak about ethics, they would usually read from a paper like that. So they don't go right, so they don't say anything wrong. But whatever I'm going to say from here is just my own opinion, had nothing to do with IDEA. So this is a paper I read back in 2019, which says technology it's not just a tool, it acts as an amplifier for anything. It's either can act, it says here in the abstract, it acts as an amplifier for institutional forces. So it can act to amplify unethical behaviors. But to know what is an ethical behavior, we need to know what ways that we need to know the standards of our ethical behaviors and also the source of that. So I just tried to think what with, like we have now a tool, ChatGPT, which can be used for good or bad. So for instance, we have two students. One student I was speaking to Lebo yesterday, and one example would be, one student would have this idea that results justifies the means. So basically, they will use ChatGPT to cheat. Basically, if they have an essay, ChatGPT can generalize that. But from their perspective, the results justifies the means. Therefore, whatever they're doing might not be unethical. But on the other side, we have someone who considers an act like that would be cheating. So they would just use ChatGPT to just as a tool to help them with the workflow. So what I'm saying here, ChatGPT is just a tool, and for us to know what is good and the bad, we need moral standards, and for that we need to know the source of our morals. So I think from what I've been reading, usually there is a subject, morals is subjective. So basically it depends on your personal behaviors, personal preferences. And that might be a problem because there wouldn't be any kind of right and wrong, and there wouldn't be any ethical standards. And anything really can go. I mean, I have never eaten a burger that looks like on the left, but this is really what they advertise for, and we take it for. I mean, we already accept this kind of life already, and like this is some kind of justifiable lie because they want to get more money out of us. And also, there are people who say that incest can be right, or why not? As long as like two parties with consent, like they would be okay with this kind of behavior. So why should we justify it? Why we should justify it as being right or wrong? Also, with the morality come from governments or society. I mean, society is what the society adapt any kind of behavior today. It would change with time. Homosexuality was something like that. It was forbidden 60 years ago. Now it's kind of it's a legal thing. And also we have the Germans with the Nazis and the apartheid. Can it come from science? Now, science is a methodology, so we usually use our models to guide science, not the other way around. But let us say that science can guide us in terms of morality. Now, I didn't really know, but apparently we are all kind of animals, and then I would think my ancestor would at some point was a monkey or a chimpanzee. I don't know. So it really, and we are in constant state of evolution. That's what the current status of the literature says. Okay, so if there are levels of us, and we are now humans and we believe in equality, then what about the animals that we are killing every day? And we're eating their meat, right? And there we see kind of the vegans. And if you don't believe in equality and we do eat that meat, then that comes with another problem, which is, yes, I don't know. Yes, it's kind of anyway. The last one would be is like religion. Usually, people when they speak about religions, they say, "This is the moment where we're being irrational now, we shouldn't being." But I mean, if God created us as being rational beings, why religion should be also, why religion should be all of a sudden being irrational? So this may be some of the things. If if a religion were to be truthful, then it has to be rational. It also has to be universal. It applies for every one of us. Shouldn't prefer one race over the other. Should be also timeless. Basically, shouldn't contradict the science that we do every day. Also should have like a proof why that would be why the book that says it's for the word of God should be the proof. Should we believe that is the text from God? And we can really test all of that from the book itself. Just open the book itself and test if you would want to do that. Now, I think I've read this sentence just a few days ago, which says that science is really basically what we do with science is basically to uncover the truth of everything beyond us. What's the purpose of everything? And it is true. But when it comes to morality, usually people would try to associate with, oh, this is a gray area. No one knows what is true or wrong. But I mean, cheating and not cheating in exams, let me be more specific here. Cheating and not cheating in exams cannot be true and wrong at the same time. And this is really comes from the non-contradiction, which is like an axiom in science, which without it, science wouldn't really exist. So yeah, something has to be true somewhere in this world. Anyway, guys, for students, since there are students here, please don't cheat and be honest and use a valid reference if you're gonna use a ChatGPT. Don't use ChatGPT as a reference though. And for teachers, I think the best is just to cut the internet out for every student. I think I'm done here. Thank you. So you can sit here.
No, you have to stick around. Do you have any questions for you? Don't walk away. There are questions.
check.openai.com in the register. But for them, I tried it now again.
I will complain with them. Complain to them with you now. Joy with you.
If it must provide the service. The other ones that I use online, I find out works.
Yeah. I think if you register, you have to use main subjects.
Why? Why is that?
It's not made for yeah, I am using ChatGPT and other AI. So I think
I'm using it from other, there is other works from other websites.
yeah.
I don't know if it's so.
No, you can't get reading for it.
Okay.
So the notice you get from ChatGPT 2.5 is still take from the date from
Actually, you should just move this out.
and then if you can make the difference very important. You have knowledge everything. But and you can
Islam?
Sorry, yes?
No, we just got muted, that's all.
Okay, sorry.
Because if you want, for example, you need to design a schedule for certain things. You need to think, and that's it. But if you type that, I need to do this. ChatGPT will just do it for you. This one you need to do it, and then you'll be done.
So
And that is a full thing. For example,
If you give a student an assignment, you say, go and create a Python code that does this. You can take the same information, paste it on ChatGPT. It will give you the whole code and with some explanation. Where is the critical thinking in that? Zero. So it does affect your critical thinking. And you won't notice because you are depending on it now. To us, you'll get full marks. And I would say, brilliant, you know what you are doing, because it will give you the explanation. In this line, this is what is happening. Here, this is what is happening. And you can take the whole thing. None.
So the question is, I don't know, is that a question? I'm trying to say, I shouldn't use surgery for it. What is it?
No, I didn't say that we shouldn't use, but we should find how do we balance and how do we.
I will tell you, ChatGPT is for new students that they do computer science. It will be a problem for them because back then, I mean, we would use the online platform. It's not like we never used Google to copy paste code. We do that every day as a computer science student, right? ChatGPT made that way easier. And I agree with you. The problem is that with ChatGPT, you can give it the abstract of the problem itself, and it will generate the code for you. But you don't find that often on the internet. It's usually the professor that comes up with assignment, will come up with a problem that shouldn't be found easily on the internet, and then the students usually struggle to find that. So they would have to break up the problem into smaller problems, and then from the smaller problems, they would need to figure out the code, and then they would need to check the internet for this piece of code, right? Which is totally fine. And I do agree with you when it comes to problem solving and generating large piece of text, a large piece of code. It can be kind of with a problem if they copy paste without thinking. Now, when you read any paper or any literature paper, you usually read it with a critical point of view. You usually try to criticize the paper, try to find what kind of mistakes that he did. Why not do the same with ChatGPT? It just generates like a text, and you know for a fact that it might do generate a text that is not quite correct. Now use your critical thinking to actually see what's wrong with ChatGPT. So, and for also, you can also train your students to use ChatGPT better. How? You can, for instance, give it, I don't know, like a physics explanation, how star formation, right? Now give it to ChatGPT and tell it, now introduce some problems with this kind of definition. Now the students will try to find the mistakes that ChatGPT did with particular text. And this is how you can introduce critical thinking when they have a piece of text. Like try to think what might be the problem with a given piece of text, basically. And that is what critical thinking is all about. It's really depends on the person who uses it. If they copy paste blindly, that is really wrong from whether they use ChatGPT or not.
That's the case on the online learning during the COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll just read one question on Zoom, then we'll come back to the room. Okay. So a question on Zoom says, for summarizing text papers, or particularly when having long chats, what are the challenges of ChatGPT's limited 16K context window? And how do you guard against hallucinations? I know you can read it for yourself, right? You can read it.
Where is it?
Up.
Oh, that's a very long
This
question.
way, that one.
What is the 16K? I don't have no idea. I don't like a
So what's the
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. So basically, just tell it to continue, and it will continue. That's basically what it does. If it gets stuck, then say tell it continue, and it will continue. With ChatGPT 4, you have a limit of, I don't know, like you would get like a 3 hours kind of a break that you can't use ChatGPT for more than that, and then you end up using GPT 3. Because GPT-4 is slower and it costs more money apparently. So anyway.
Okay, then Charles over here.
Yep. So I just want to say, so with ChatGPT, one thing I've noticed is that if someone is doing something or ask it to write something for them, and you read it, you will know that ChatGPT wrote it. You can tell, I can tell, it's either it will name something incorrectly, or do something along those lines. So when someone has applied stuff or not. And ChatGPT is very helpful. In fact, for someone that's really busy to be writing a 3-page document, right? You can exactly. So exactly, you can get it to actually do that for you, and then apply yourself onto what it has done, right? So I think we should look at ChatGPT not as a tool that's coming to do critical thinking for us, but something that's a tool for us to now actually help us with our, with better uses of our time as well, in order for us to do other tasks. But just the point I wanted to make is, when you mentioned Stack Overflow, in terms of that, you have got a code you are writing, you go on Stack Overflow, there's a sense of community there as well. And I think that the main problem that's going to happen now with ChatGPT is that there's not going to be that sense of community. Someone working on a similar problem to you, how will you be able to know how someone dealt with this problem? And ChatGPT doesn't keep stock of all of these things. Maybe now it's a question of keeping stock of the responses as well.
Would it be having ChatGPT writing the data and also stacking of low one again out? There's so many quotes there. So,
Yeah, but now the question is, how do you keep a repository of collections as well? Because I think that's what makes it very relevant. Someone will come and say, well, this is how I saw it. This is how I saw it. And then there are many different ways to do it. But now that sort of repository is not going to exist.
I think the moment that ChatGPT wouldn't be able to go to Stack Overflow. So the community will be there. ChatGPT can't address it.
Okay, and then there's a question on Zoom as well. If you scroll down, there's another question. That one. I'll read it for you. So it says the proofreading mentioned is not recommended for unpublished academic work, for example, theses and papers. I believe because using ChatGPT this way feeds the work to a public platform before the work is published, thus compromising it by making it prematurely public. I hope this gets discussed. And then second, the paywalls of ChatGPT, or is it completely free? The first question is, are you allowed to proofread unpublished work on ChatGPT?
Well, I think there was a problem with Samsung. The engineers, the software engineers, they use ChatGPT, and it ended up being a problem because they shared their code, and this code should be a secret. So this kind of problem. But really, like, I mean, if your research is kind of a very important kind of, if you are working on, I don't know, nuclear physics on a very important, I mean, then be careful, don't use ChatGPT. Otherwise, our thesis really normally is about, my thesis was about weather forecasting. And so I don't know.
And then the second part is asking about paid, or is it completely free?
Well, it's GPT 3.5 is free. And GPT 4 is you have to pay, I don't know, I can't remember how much.
Okay.
$200, I think. Yeah.
In rands, 260.
Is it because we stop now, we don't count? Anyway.
Yeah, do you have questions in the room? Okay. Yeah. I'll just move closer to everyone.
Go there also.
Yes, come.
So I think mine is a bit of a statement and a challenge. So ChatGPT is no different to the invention of the printing press. It's going to just be this worst thing ever. TV in South Africa, government resisted it because it was going to corrupt people and it was just going to, totally destroy people's ability to think. So each of these sort of switches to a different type of technology has gone with this sort of skepticism. The thing is, how can we use it? And if we operate in sort of the lower order thinking skills, then ChatGPT is going to totally destroy us. But if we look at the higher order thinking skills, then ChatGPT has more potential than anything else. So it's really how we end up using it that determines what it develops or not. So, I mean, Sugata Mitra talks about, school exams kids should have access to their phones. And I totally agree. That is the world out there. Otherwise, we divorce in education from the realities of our world. And that has huge implications as well. Then we're in the Pink Floyd world. So, yeah, we need to think carefully about this assessment broadly with these new tools, as opposed to, this one's for Trevor, staying with a stopwatch. That's all, thanks.
Thank you. All right, and then we have a question online. It says, are there detection tools to know when ChatGPT was used, for example, on an essay, and how good are they? So is there Turnitin for ChatGPT?
I don't know, but if Charles is saying that you would know when someone uses ChatGPT or not, then there will be an AI or machine learning model that actually does that. But I'm not aware of any tool yet that can actually detect whether someone uses ChatGPT or not. But so you guys are happy with that?
E-learning, the Canva people, SEADS, they implemented something to detect whether a person uses ChatGPT or not.
Okay.
But I haven't tried it yet.
Do we have a question in the room? Okay.
Just me or the... Okay, so just a simple example, timetables. If you only have 2 or 3 classes, it's easy to manually set it up. If you're dealing with multiple classrooms, multiple disciplines, you actually you can get the technology to set it up, but you can still apply the critical eye to it to see that it's coherent. There's only so much we can hold in our minds. And these things allow us to do more efficiently than we could ever do without it. Thanks.
And then we have a comment online that goes back to whether or not you can use ChatGPT to read unpublished work. So it says that until academic work is published, it is as good as classified or secret work to the person producing it.
I agree.
And then someone says they might be mistaken, but they think that Turnitin has updated in order to detect ChatGPT now. So I don't know, maybe someone can try it out. Okay, do we have any more questions, comments, statements? Okay.
Just follow up on what Ian is saying. So in the room, I guess, in a case where, as like you said earlier, if you give students an assignment, a written assignment, I don't think they care so much about critical thinking and engagement. They care about submitting and getting a mark, right? How do we, I don't know, how do we avoid that?
Yeah. If we're gonna just ask them to do low-level stuff and we just bombard them and there's a total lack of coordination in terms of assessment and stuff, then we deserve that. We need to use these systems to work much smarter and much more effectively, and work with the students and not onto them. So it's a philosophical change. It's not just a technical change. So I know the All Blacks lost, but they'll be back. We do need to start playing more All Black rugby with the students and with each other. We need to be more coherent ourselves, and in terms of what we want to achieve with these pieces of paper the students get. So it's a coherence philosophical issue that we need to address, and then use the appropriate tools. Okay.
Hi everyone. I hope I'm not interrupting. But I just want to say, yeah, I
now
agree.
to probably to think much more about the weight you give to your formative and summative assignment assessment. So I would like to argue that probably the formative assignment assessment can take a very small percentage of the weight of your examination, while the summative ones probably that are sit down or invigilated can quite much more bigger weight. Yeah, that's an ongoing discussion.
Go to that university in Canada. I can see the guy's face. Quest University, where each lecture venue has 22 chairs and a table. And there's not more than 20 students per class. Or the problem is the factory world condemns most people to the rubbish heap. Yeah.
Do you have any questions? So the people online shared, in reference to the question that was asked about detection, they quoted from OpenAI saying that in a brief update to the original announcement article, OpenAI says it has discontinued its AI text classifier due to low rate of accuracy. As the company writes, the company says that it is researching more effective methods for AI text recognition and is also committed to developing recognition mechanisms for audio and image content. So this is something that they took out of an AI article. And then it says, someone made a comment saying, I think we will see the way we test and teach students change, not just rote learning and reproducing old assignments, which means which happens a lot. So, yeah. Okay, one final question.
Skynet becomes sentient. And ChatGPT tell us that.
When what happens?
When the Skynet becomes sentient.
Eslam, you are technically the I don't know. When does Skynet become?
Everything was terminated. The movies.
Like being conscious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've just I was planning to present this those models basically they do act as a humans, and we have no way to verify whether they are conscious or not. Basically, if ChatGPT would be in the other room and they had my mother's voice and they have been listening to my mother speaking, they can speak as they would be my mother, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So now, are they conscious or not? Now they have in the paper, it's actually very interesting. They say, should they have rights or not? So basically, should they have even citizenship or not? In Japan, right? There was a paper like that, like the title. And the other paper says, do we have the right to trade them as slaves? So for instance, I have been treating now ChatGPT as a tool, and I have been, right, as a child, I don't know. So now I have been offending it. So, you know, yeah, we can, I think it is, the way that I see it is like we can love now until it actually becomes reality 20 years from now. I mean, like I said, we really don't know what's right and what's wrong. And this, people come up with the strangest reality 20 years from now.
Okay, I think we can bring the session to an end. Thank you everyone for coming and everyone online. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you. It was very informative.
All of you guys. This must be.
Yeah, and if you guys have further questions, he is at IDIA.
Yeah.